I don't think anything could have prepared people for just how devastating Hurricane Helene was. And I'm not talking about along the coastlines of Florida. We knew it was going to be bad there. I'm talking about further inland. I'm talking about places in Tennessee and North Carolina. I've seen a lot of people online saying, well, why didn't they evacuate? Why didn't they leave? A lot of these areas were not given evacuation warnings. Hell, even where I live, which was pretty close to where the storm hit, I wasn't given an evacuation warning. Meanwhile, my entire area is still without power. My neighborhood has kept power the entire time. Some people's power were just getting cut on last night, but the majority of this area around me still doesn't have power. And you got to understand that down here, I know it's October, I know it's fall now, but down here, it's still in the mid 90s. Okay? So you got old people who are passing out. You got people who need electricity to survive because they have to be hooked up on certain machines, you name it. So it's even bad in my area. And my area was not given an evacuation order. And a lot of these areas were not given evacuation orders either. Maybe at the very last second when they realized that things were going crazy. But yeah, and it's so much worse than you all know. And I know you've seen the devastation. I have too. But there's some areas that we haven't even seen yet. The communications are still down. There's no communications between a lot of people in small little areas of North Carolina, right? There's no roadways left to get to these people in certain situations, okay? So I'll put it like this. There's some areas that you've never heard of in North Carolina that you will never hear of because they're gone now. Not a single standing structure left. Small little towns, gone. And a lot of these towns were like in the mountains, people. This is kind of unheard of. It was unimaginable that something like this would happen in some of these areas that were so far from the coast. It's one of the craziest storms that I've personally seen. But like I said, communications are still down. There's no way for a lot of these people to contact anyone. There's tons of missing people. They're finding more bodies every day. And listen, the media, of course, they're trying to sugarcoat certain things. They're trying to make it seem as if these people are getting more help than what they're actually getting. There's a lot of people who haven't gotten any help from our government, but they have been getting help from locals who are doing whatever they can to support their neighbors. That's how a lot of people are surviving right now. But just like with the issues that we see in Springfield, Ohio, the media will paint out a different picture. They will, form their own narrative and make you think that everything is kind of hunky-dory and that the government is doing so much. Hell, the current administration didn't even acknowledge that this even happened until like 3 days after it happened, once they started getting called out and once a certain somebody was on the ground passing out supplies. So this is where we're at in this situation. We're days and days out from the storm, and there's still so many people missing or so many people who haven't been heard from. There's still people in little towns in the mountains of North Carolina and portions of Tennessee that have no contact, and there's no one coming to help them. So there are people who privately own helicopters. There's a few people out here that have been using their helicopters, using their own money, buying supplies, fueling up their helicopters, and flying them in to help the people. Because we can't rely on FEMA. We can't rely on our government, because our government is sending all of our money to foreign countries. And they'll try to pretend like FEMA is going to do a great job. Listen, FEMA just announced that they don't even have enough money to last them for the rest of the hurricane season. We're sending all of our money to places like Ukraine. Meanwhile, when we have these devastating disasters here in our country, we can't afford to take care of our own people because we're taking care of people all over the world and we're not taking care of our own. But like I said, private citizens that own their own helicopters have been using them to save people because the National Guard hasn't come. No one has come. So private citizens are flying into these areas, into these little towns in the mountains, right? With their helicopters, getting people the hell out of there. People who haven't eaten, haven't had water in days, whose homes are all the way gone. And now they're threatening to arrest these pilots. Because the reality is, I don't think they want some of these people getting help. And that may seem extreme to you, but it's only extreme to you because you don't pay attention. Listen, if you paid attention to what happened in East Palestine, Ohio, if you paid attention to what happened with the fires down in Maui, those are just two examples of crazy, chaotic situations that ruined people's lives, ruined the areas these people lived in, and nothing was done about it, okay? So now these private citizens who have been flying in, bringing food, literally rescuing people and saving their lives as they're stranded without communication, in random areas, now they're threatening to arrest these people. I want to go ahead and dive into this one news article that just came out. Helicopter pilot threatened with arrest after flying rescue missions in flood-ravaged North Carolina. A South Carolina pilot who flew stranded Hurricane Helene victims in flood-ravaged North Carolina to safety claims he was told he would be arrested if he continued the rescue missions. Jordan Sidehorn was flying victims out of the devastation over the weekend when local leaders told him there was a flight restriction on the area and that they would have to arrest him if he continued making flights. There were other victims. As we were flying, leaving out of the area, we spotted within 300, 400 yards of their location. People were waving us down for help as my son and I were leaving. After the storm wreaked havoc on the region, leaving hundreds of people stranded as entire roadways were washed away, Seedhorn read about a family that was stranded without water on a mountain in Banner Elk, a ski town heavily battered by the storm, and he knew he had to take action now. I thought to myself, I have a helicopter. Maybe I can help. Seedhorn, who once led the Chesterfield County Sheriff's Office Narcotics Unit, and his teenage son, Landon, flew out bottled water and food to the family on Saturday and decided they would set out to find other people in need of help. The father and son, both volunteer firefighters, flew 4 victims to safety on Saturday, including 2 women stranded at the top of a mountain and 2 vacationers trapped inside their Airbnb. They only had 1 day of supplies, which was gone by Saturday. They hadn't had any food, no water, no power. And we were coming back this direction anyway, so we actually took them to Charlotte Douglas Airport, and they were able to fly home from there. I want to pause. So these people are doing God's work. They're doing the job that our government should be doing. There should not be a single American stranded anywhere from the storm anymore at this point, yet there still are. Because our government has failed to do their jobs. Because we're worried about all of these foreign countries. You want to know where most of the National Guardsmen from Tennessee are? They're in the freaking Middle East, okay? We're sending out our National Guard and stuff to these other countries as well as hundreds of billions of dollars. Meanwhile, the storm rolls through North Carolina and we leave our own citizens trapped on a mountain. And then when other citizens try to go save these people, we threaten to arrest them because we don't want them making us look bad, right? We don't want them making us look bad. And at the end of the day, I honestly think that the powers that be in this country, I think they want bad things to happen. And you're not going to convince me otherwise because they can handle all of these situations much better than they do. But they drag their feet, and I think they do it on purpose. Let's go forward. After sleeping in recliners in a pilot lounge at a nearby airport, The father and son went back out on Sunday and found a husband and wife who waved them down from their partially washed away home. Only equipped with a small helicopter, Seedhorn and his son exit the aircraft to make room for the wife, whom he flew to a group of first responders about 3 minutes away. I originally left my son, my co-pilot, on the side of the mountain. The helicopter was kind of unstable, so I didn't want to put more weight on the helicopter to lift it back up. So I left my son with the other victim, and I was just going to take one person down at a time, Seedhorn said. His plans to return for the other victim and his own son were squashed by an unnamed Lake Lore fire official who allegedly threatened to have him arrested if he continued picking up stranded victims. I explained to him that I left my own son on the side of the mountain, and I left another victim as well. I was going to go back and bring them. It was already set up for the landing spot, then I would get out of the area. He told me I wasn't going to go back up that mountain to get them. I was going to leave them there. So I want to pause again. Now they're telling him, hey, you've been rescuing people. You've been dropping off supplies. Now you just rescued this woman, but guess what? You got to leave your son on the side of the mountain in the middle of the devastation. That's how effed up these people are. And I'm sitting here like, it would be one thing if they're like, hey, we got our own helicopters. We're rescuing these people. Don't worry. You can go home. But that's not the case. These people they're left up there to starve to death, right? It's absolutely insane. And now they're telling this guy, oh, you got to leave your kid on the side of the freaking mountain. Oh, hell no. But let's go forward. The official held his ground and reiterated his threat to arrest Seedhorn if he were to get the other victim and fly him to the first responders. Defeated, Seedhorn returned to retrieve his son and explained what happened to the husband, whom he was forced to leave stranded in his crumbling driveway after already saving his wife. Within half an hour of the confrontation with the fire official, Seedhorn said a temporary flight restriction was enacted over the area where he had been trying to save the stranded couple. By the time the restriction was lifted, Seedhorn reloaded his helicopter with food and bottled water and flew back to the area with the Carolina Emergency Response Team, a volunteer group dispatching pilots where people need to be rescued. While he is now doing everything he can to help those in need, Seedhorn says he believes that the fire official's decision to stop him from picking up victims on Sunday put lives in jeopardy and may have cost the lives of a few people. I can only imagine what the people were thinking. You have been stranded for 36 hours or more. No way to speak with anyone. You don't know what's going on. And you see a lifeline, a helicopter fly over and they just keep going and ignore you. I can only imagine what they were thinking. He added, if I had to do it over again, I would have stopped and I would have rescued as many people until they decided they were going to arrest me. So there you have it, folks. That's the actual truth about what's happening on the ground. No, these people are not getting all the help that they need. And if you think they are, you are extremely gullible if you think that the government really gives a damn. These people have been left to literally die. And when their neighbors, when their fellow Americans, fellow citizens come to try to do the job that our government failed to do, guess what? Not only is our government not doing the job, they're stopping other people from doing the job for them. So not only are they not doing what they're supposed to do, they're stopping other people from stepping in. So, that just makes the situation 50 times worse, if you ask me. Because it's already bad that you're here not doing anything, right? It's already bad that you're on the news pretending like you're going to do everything you can for these people. Meanwhile, there's still people stranded on the freaking mountain who knows if they're even alive anymore or not. And then you got these volunteers coming in, using their own money, risking their own lives to save these people, and you're stopping them. And you're threatening to arrest them. Why? Why? Because you want the situation to be worse? Because you don't want people to see that, hey, their random neighbors are doing a better job than the current administration, than our government? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But little stories like this one are happening all over. This is just one story out of hundreds that are going on in this area. And I'm going to look into this, and I'll bring you more of those stories in the future. But for now, let me know what you think about this one down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.